Beach. I'm a PhD candidate in the Department of Human-Centered Design and Engineering, also known as HCDE at the University of Washington in Seattle. And I'm presenting our paper I co-authored with my advisor, Tyler Fox, who's in the room, again, titled Value-Sensitive Design, or Value-Sensitive Speculative Design, Exploring More Than Human Relations in the Age of Climate Catastrophe. So as issues of climate change become more apparent and intertwined with our daily lives, calls for action amplify. And the causes and effects of anthropogenic climate change, such as rising temperatures and oceans, drought, wildfire, famine, and climate refugees within the paradigm of late-stage capitalism, all equate to a wicked problem. Yet the problem is not humanity's alone. So living non-human organisms also experience ecological shifts and disruptions. So designing for climate change requires more than human perspectives if we're to approach these problems ethically. And design spaces such as HCI have become increasingly interested in the projects, visions, and narratives that investigate this complexity. However, research and pedagogy do not always emerge at the same rate, as we know, and questions on how to teach this still remain. So at a high level, our paper is a reflection on 2 of our 10-week courses that we offered in our department for undergraduate and graduate students. These courses took the form of what we call a DRG, or a directed research group, which allowed us to be more flexible and experimental with the design of the course. One DRG was offered in the fall quarter, Northern Hemisphere, from September to December 2020, and the other was offered in the spring quarter, March to June 2021. And in each of them, we mobilized a new design method that we call value-sensitive speculative design. And this method builds on existing frameworks from value-sensitive design and speculative design. And to give a little more context for our DRGs, our department teaches human-centered design and engineering. And at the core curriculum, students learn and apply research, design, prototyping, and engineering skills to meet the needs of potential users. They learn how to justify design decisions based on what they know and understand about the people for whom they design, and they learn to articulate these decisions to other audiences. This requires them to consider the ethics and values of their design as well. However, as others have stated, we notice that such dependence on and desire to please the user can lead to more conservative design ideas. Another way to say this is that a hyper focus on the user leads to students to tried and true practices of industry, like personas, design ethnography, surveys, etc., rather than developing their own ideas and values of what makes good design. And so our DRGs sit outside of the core curriculum, and we're not required to teach them, nor are our students required to sign up for them. But as researchers and educators, we share a strong commitment to the topics of climate change and speculative design. The first DRG was called Post-Human Hazmat, Design Fiction for Multi-Species Care and Collaborative Survival in Cataclysmic Climates. Through visual storytelling, students explore more than human concepts, human relationships with other species and the natural world, and future scenarios of collaborative survival, resulting in a final zine of 11 stories. The second DRG was called UX of Climate Change, Speculative Practices. And drawing upon discursive design techniques, students explored questions like, how might we understand, imagine, and envision future states of a changing world? And also, how might design open discussions about our relationship with non-humans? So in both of the DRGs, we were developing a pedagogical practice to tie together these 3 concepts, the more than human theories, speculative practice, and value-sensitive design. And the following screenshots below are parts of our Miro board activities that provided scaffolding for group discussions. On the bottom left is the screenshot from the more than human activities. We feel strongly that designing for the more than human requires a rigorous inquiry into non-human worlds and potentials. So we incorporated some sensitizing materials, some readings, podcasts, films, zines, comics that consider lived worlds of octopuses, sheep, trees. And in the middle, there's a screenshot where we're exploring speculative practices. We assigned 2 articles, The Speculative Design Crafting the Speculation by Auger, and Expanding Modes of Reflection in Design Futuring by Kusube et al. Both readings provided frameworks for speculative design and design futures. And we sought to bring them together as both analytical and creative approach. And finally, on the right, we developed group activities to develop value scenarios, which is a method found in value-sensitive design by Friedman and Henry. They added a layer of focus that prompted the students to discuss the tensions between the different stakeholders and how the technology produces unwanted effects. And so tying these three concepts together, we developed activities for value-sensitive speculative design. For example, this activity combines two concepts from our readings, the concept of value scenarios from value-sensitive design, and the 6 key tenets of speculation developed by James Auger. And we experimented with each concept independently in previous sessions, and then combined them into a method for critiquing and pushing the students' more than human story concepts further. This was done using a peer feedback template that we developed on Miro. You can see the template on the left, and then on the right is an excerpt of one of the outputs. And so after each DRG, we invited all of our students to participate in a post-course interview to get the feedback on their experience relative to what is being taught in our department. And the students identified some key differences and challenges between user and human-centered design and speculative and discursive design. They also found the importance of climate change as a focus and ways that they experienced growth as a designer. And our students shared concerns around prescriptive methods, an over-focus on practicality, short-term thinking, techno-solutionism, and the entrenched relationship between user-centered design approaches and capitalism. Koyo, a third-year undergraduate student, said that speculative practices offer a look beyond a user's immediate goals at the larger context to changes in society and issues of sustainability. Patria, a second-year master's student in HCDE, said, "A lot of times we work on consumer products, but we can go beyond thinking about money and think more on ethics." And you can see an excerpt of Patria's work there on the left. Most of the students also referred to one of our favorite mantras, "Make it weird," as a great reminder that they have permission to make something weird and speculative and to let go of the kinds of expectations that are found in our department. And so for both courses, climate change was a major theme, and our students were very happy about this. Climate change as a topic is very important to the students that are coming through the program. And Taylor, another second-year master's student, found validation stating that the working in that scope of climate change and understanding that is a scope that they can work in as a designer, and knowing that there are other people out there that do it gave them some validation. And in the 2020 DRG, Kyler explores the tensions between fungus and humans, fungus and plants and humans. And he asks, should humans use fungus if it kills other organisms? At what point are humans and fungus considered a single organism? And you can see an excerpt of Kyler's work there on the left. Speculative and discursive design are not always human-centered. Our students found connections between more than human concepts and human-centered design. For example, Patria said, when caring for others and non-humans, we're actually also caring for ourselves. In a way, these non-human practices are human-centered design. I love that one. There were also reflections on what it means to be a good designer and also about shifting mindsets. Our students found value in linking theory to practice, saying that it makes their work more sophisticated. And they report that the theories and concepts explored in class helped shift their mindset and open them up to new perspectives and provided new criteria by which to judge design. Students said speculative design was interesting as it created new tensions that supported thinking differently in the space of big tech. And others said it helps prepare us for the future. In a world where designers are expected to solve problems, speculative design offers a counterexample where designers can expose and explore potential problems and experiences. And design proposals and experiential prototypes offer insights into new worlds, contexts, and experiences of these unresolved problems. And this work challenges the uniformity of the user-centered design and pushes students' ability to use design to provoke and promote critical thought. For future work, as we further develop these courses, we plan to include more readings and exemplars from BIPOC authors and designers to better understand political, embodied, and situated contexts in speculative practices. And we're also working on developing a research plan to capture the next iterations of this course. Yeah, so thank you for this opportunity to present our work. We would like to thank those who supported this work and all of the students who participated in the DRGs. And also please feel free to reach out and connect with us. Looking forward to the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael, for the great presentation. Also, thank you, Tyler. Michael, did you want to?
Yeah, I just want to bounce off of the previous presentation talking about a 10-week course and how what a time constraint that is. That is something also that we're kind of thinking about in terms of how to keep these some of these projects going from one quarter to the next. So how can we kind of have students build off of what came from previous quarters and pass those on to the next. So that was just one thing that I thought of. Yeah.
I wrote down one of the comments of your students, which said, oh, this made our work much more sophisticated. And I was thinking of also previous presentations that getting our students to really understand the systemic complexity of what we are sharing here today is, of course, a huge challenge. Did you understand this comment of your student as something like really getting engaged with the systemic complexity that you were putting them into? Or this getting our work more sophisticated is something that takes to aesthetics or something else?
Yes,
I got it right. I got the comment right, Michael. One of your students mentioned that, right? That the work was more sophisticated. Right. Yeah. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. And thank you for that. Yeah. So during the first half of it or so, we read a lot of materials and had some sensitizing materials that that we explored that kind of opened up our ideas around how things could be different, right? And one of those things that we brought up was Adana Haraway reading the Symbiogenesis, Sympoiesis, and the Art Science Activism for Staying with the Trouble. And in that reading, they bring up this concept of the holobiont, which is etymologically speaking, it means entire beings or safe and sound beings. But what it is about not being an individual or a one, but really looking at this like polytemporal, polyspatial noddings and how holobionts, these basically organisms that are created with boundaries that change, hold together the dynamics of patterning, of complex patterning. So things like that, I think that's what those kinds of concepts that really make you think about the boundaries between ourselves, what it actually means to be human, and in relation to time and space and these other elements, just really kind of made the context more rich, I think, for the students. And I think that's what they were alluding to. And it's definitely a stark contrast from what we're used to seeing when we're focused on user-centered design, which is, very user-centered, and you only bring in the context that's needed in order to solve that particular problem space that you've created.
Yeah, thank you, Mike.